So if you're somebody that has been needing to have a difficult conversation with someone that you really care about, I think you should tap into this episode because I speak a lot about the importance of needing to do that and how I feel personally many relationships end because of not having enough of these difficult conversations, which, some could argue might be daily conversations. But I guess the point is the more you have them, the less difficult they become, and the fewer of those conversations are going to happen. But at first, there might be quite a few. I also tapping into source, getting into prayer or meditation or, spirituality and the importance of all that, and realizing how important it actually is that you have access to a lot of support, a huge team out there that you may have forgotten about. And finally, I do speak quite a bit about coming to the idea of who am I? How am I showing up in the world? And am I being fake or am I being genuine? So if that sounds good to you, I would love you to join me. Hello, my name is Luella Jonk. Welcome to my show, I Think I Can podcast. The purpose of coming here each week and for you joining me is so that I can help you leverage the power of your mind, but also your heart and your soul, because our body is a system. And especially when it comes to changing your world, your life, you have to realize you need all of it. And once in a while, I will also have a guest come on the show to add to this knowledge. But if you're somebody that's been searching for more of a fulfilling life, then I think you're going to find this very helpful. Enjoy the show. Okay, let's dive into today's topics, which focus on having difficult conversations and having and feeling confident to lead those conversations. And we are also going to get into something that, I don't talk about a lot, but I'm thinking I should, because I consult with my team every day. And when I say team, I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about, reaching out to God, source, whoever that is for you, and asking for help. I mean, some people can call this prayer, I'm sure. Some people might just call it meditation. But I'm just wondering, do you use that? And how often do you use that? Do you underestimate the power of tapping into that source of wisdom that's always there for you? Because if you're not using it daily, you should be. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about finding your purpose in life. If you're somebody that's sort of feeling lost right now, I'm hoping that this episode can make you feel a little bit more secure about yourself, your reason for being here. And it's not yeah, and it's much more than just the hats we throw on during the day, right? Like you might think that my purpose in life could potentially be more important than yours because I'm coming sort of from the therapy world or, you know, coaching people through their difficult situations. But no, everyone has a soul purpose here. And I think we need to remind ourselves of that more often because, yeah, when things don't go our, you know, according to our plan, sometimes, whether it's during the day or the months, we kind of wonder, like, why are we doing this? It doesn't matter what type of job. If you think your purpose in life is your career or it's related to sports or athletics, or it's basically what I'm talking about is how you're identifying yourself um, on this planet. And we are much more than our egos or identities, however we want to identify ourselves. So let's dive in. So talking about how to lead yourself through difficult conversations. This is, you know me in my world, this is something that more and more people I feel are well, they're using fear to make them choose different things. When I did like different paths, different choices, and when they feel that fear come in, first of all, you're spending so much more time in your head than you need to. But I mean, this requires a lot of conscious work, a lot of mindful work. It's like having the feeling, noticing the feeling of fear and doing it anyway. So this is requiring a lot of courage on your part. It's sort of, I always call it's the dance between I want, but I can't. I want, but I can't. But you're simply making excuses up over and over to yourself why you can't. And it could, okay, so like, let's say you need to have a conversation with, it's obviously always someone that's very meaningful to you in your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this fear. It's sort of like, it's a stranger. I don't have a problem telling the stranger what I want to say. This is my opinion or something like that. Or even on social media. Only the bold, only the courageous are going to show up in their true, authentic self and state what their intentions are, like what their message is, and not worry whether or not it's going to land in someone's lap, and people opposed to it, and therefore send you messages back that might knock you off your chair, sort of thing. Very mean comments, very rude comments. I mean, when you think of it, a lot of us are hiding behind our computers, or socially, wherever that is, hiding because we don't really want people to know how we really think. Only these people that are very bold and direct, you don't have to say to them like, well, don't hold back, because that they're saying exactly what's on their minds, and there's no apologies behind that. So it takes a lot of courage not to be fake. A lot of courage. Like to act in a certain way socially, the same way you act in the privacy of your home. To have conversations with your loved ones in your house the same way you would show up like at work, right? How many of us live a fake life like that? Fake relationships, fake lives. So only the courageous are the ones who step up and have difficult conversations with the people that they really care about. So I think it's important to, yeah. And I mean, when I think about it, like I think about certain clients that I've worked with that have been so courageous, especially when it comes to intimate relationships and marriages and things like that, to note that they're unhappy and why they're unhappy and want to resolve that level of unhappiness in their marriage. It's we don't want to bring these things up, these conversations, because we're fearing what the other person might say. And you know what? Like, I've used this excuse in the past as well. And that's the excuse of, I didn't want you to get mad and you get angry, so I don't feel safe in telling you what I actually truly feel. And that's still your responsibility. It's so easy to, I mean, it sounds really valid. It's sort of like you become super angry and therefore I don't feel safe. And therefore maybe I lied or I kept things back. And this could even be a parent-child conversation too. It's like your kids aren't telling you stuff because they, quote unquote, know your reaction and they don't want to hear your reaction. And as parents, we really have to make sure our kids feel safe because they're kids and, they're learning and it's our role to guide them. But we need to always allow them to feel safe. Because I tell you, most of our unconscious programming happens, in not good unconscious programming, like the unconscious programming that makes us feel so stuck in life. Most of that has occurred, I truly feel, because children have not, we as children did not feel safe. And therefore we started incorporating certain patterns of behaviors, whether that's lying, or whether that's becoming very, very angry people, because we didn't ever feel safe. And I mean, angry people are just people that don't know how to communicate, don't know how to talk about their emotions, and therefore are living in fear, and therefore need to, the only way that they can release their emotions seems to be through anger. But the better way is always to have a conversation. So how do I lead myself through difficult conversations? I think one of the first ways is, first of all, just think there is no right and wrong. This is super important when you're leading yourself through difficult conversations. There is no right and wrong when leading yourself through a difficult conversation. There is only understanding that there's two perspectives here. And I always like to remind my clients there's two different perspectives because you've had two different life experiences up until this point. And let's bring it back to intimate relationship partnerships. Your partner has a much different past than you do. I mean, you can try all you want. And yeah, I do think this helps. I was going to say, you can try all you want to have similar family origins. I 100% think that this is important because there's so much cultural and community-based, belief systems that's there, that it's going to make your lives much, much easier. Otherwise, it's sort of like reinventing the wheel all over again. Like you're going to be having lots of different difficult conversations. But if two people can actually converse, then it's possible. If two people don't have that opinion of I'm right and you're wrong, and you need to understand my way, or here's the highway, that's being extremely defensive. It's not recognizing that there could be a different perception here. There could be a different way of looking at this, and to be open, being very open-minded to doing life a different way, to actually receive that information, process it, contemplate it somewhat, and go, I've never seen it like that before. I'm very curious. That sounds interesting. I mean, to agree to disagree. I realize how having difficult conversations is extremely difficult when one person is not open to the other person's perspective, when one person is not actually able to look at themselves and think, there could be some truth to that. That person's perception of the situation, there could actually be some truth to that. Or are you going to be the type of person that goes, no, there's absolutely no way you are correct in this. I see things completely different than you do. And it's okay. I mean, as long as you use that caveat, is I see things completely different than you do on this topic. That's fine, but you don't need to make them wrong about having their perspective on it. That's not necessary in this conversation. Why do you feel, you have to think about it, why do you feel the need to have another person agree with you? Are you that insecure about yourself? Do you lack that much self-esteem that you require, that you need another person to see something the way you do? You really have to look at yourself and kind of go like, why is that necessary for me? Why does that throw such a wrench in my world that I need you to see? Like, I get like, this is not validation, this is sort of like, well, I guess it is validation in the sense that I need you to see me. I need you, but you need the person to actually hear you. You need the person to see you, but you don't need the person to agree with you. Unless it's a real fundamental area of your life, of course, like your values or virtues. I mean, if you feel like it's okay to take someone else's life, or if you feel it's okay to harm children or harm another person, as far as that goes, that is something that, you can't be on those two differing opinions and think that you're going to be intimate with someone, be close to somebody. That's just too inherently different. But that's not, if I was to be honest with you, that's not really like, that's not the cause of relationships breaking up. We have to realize that. And actually, like, I have, if any of you want, I have something called a relationship reset questionnaire. It's sort of just this PDF that I created that describes this. And yeah, just reach out to me, DM me on social media, or just email me, lj@luellayonk.com, or my admin assistant, admin@luellayonk.com, and ask for it, because it goes through this. I think a lot of people at first, that's what they look at. And it makes sense. Like, what are some things like that I really require in a relationship that are fundamentally important to me? It could be a hard work ethic. Maybe for somebody else, it's creativity. Maybe it's a musician and they want the other person to, be this way or whatever. But it's interesting that I think in the end, it's sort of like all the little things that you didn't even think were important that rock your world, like that sort of you feel like you can't live with anymore. And I won't get into the details, but like most people come together because of their virtues and their values, because they think that's everything. But at the same time, it's more of the secondary values or the tertiary values that ends the relationship. And I'm not saying that's right or it's wrong, but people don't realize that it's all these little things that they allow to go, like, to creep into their relationship, because they're not having the difficult conversations with their partner as they pop up. Maybe it's somebody scrutinizing you for the way you're choosing to eat, the foods you're choosing to eat, or the way you're loading the dishwasher, or you not putting the toilet paper back, roll back on whatever, the way that they like it to be done, or folding the towels a certain way, or like, you would not believe all the little bickering things that, like, I'm not going to say necessarily end the relationship, but I'm going to tell you that the pileup of all these tertiary differences is honestly, like, it can become like overly consuming. It's sort of like when you think about the iceberg, it's sort of like underneath on top, it's sort of, you can see obviously the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg. You can think of that as all your values and virtues and must haves. That's there. It's very obviously the culture, the hardworking, ethic that you might have, the whatever made you to connect in the first place. But then underneath the massive stuff that you don't see is all hiding beneath the surface. And this is with every single relationship out there. You're going to find this stuff underneath the surface, guys, whether you think you've, matched yourself up perfectly or not. But it doesn't matter. It's sort of like the ship, you as a couple now have navigation tools that perhaps the Titanic didn't have before. And your navigation tools are being able to have difficult conversations as it rises up in the relationship, and not dismissing it, and not, just ignoring it with whatever distractions you have in your life, and using a bunch of excuses why you didn't have those difficult conversations, such as what I said right in the beginning. Oh, you become mad when I do that. That's an excuse. I mean, I'm not talking about physical abuse here. That's more like the child parent relationship, right? I mean, in terms of, that's a whole different level of vulnerability. I mean, we're not talking about physical abuse where a person feels so scared, where a child can feel so scared of the circumstances of, being vulnerable and being authentic and being true of their nature, and potentially, being hit. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about conversations that are difficult to have, that might require a lot of back and forth, that might require a third party, to intervene, such as a coach or a therapist would have to intervene now, because one person is not able to see the other person's perspective, and therefore sometimes you need a third party to perhaps say it in a different way, or just keep everybody's nervous system at a certain regulated state. I mean, that's not always even possible in a room, like with the third party person. I mean, sometimes people just get triggered, even when the voice tone and the approach is different. I mean, we can try our best as third party, like sort of professionals here, but like sometimes you just can't help a person being triggered the way they are, and therefore then maybe more of an individual session and going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper about, what that core trauma is, in order to help them to see life differently, help them to see the situation differently. That's really what we're trying to do. And therefore, I'm a very, very strong advocate of individual work that everyone needs to do in order to improve their relationship, rather than pointing fingers. I mean, it's really looking in a mirror. That's what it is. And discovering who you are as a person, which, like, okay, so this topic about difficult conversations is actually the module 7 in my signature offer called Freedom. So, I mean, I don't know how long I spent talking about this already. I think almost 20 minutes or more. There's so much to say about this, but my signature offer goes into detail about how to lead yourself through those difficult conversations. But we go into, module 9 is about finding your purpose. I'm skipping module 8 for a second here. Module 9 is going into finding your purpose, and to me, this is your soul purpose, which to me is, again, another way of saying, how do you identify yourself as a human being on this earth? And that has a lot of, it relates a lot to what I just said, like coming off the having difficult conversations and allowing yourself to be wrong. Like, you got to realize how much your ego is playing a role in this. How you identify yourself is really a lot of what your ego is. And therefore, we can't really say ego is good or bad. But when we're hanging on to a certain type of identity, that's when ego is not really your friend. Whether that's the way you look, the type of eyes you have. I mean, your hair, your body weight, your status quo in life, in community, in being a people pleaser, that you hang on to this identity of being a nice person is your only recognition that you're acceptable, rather than being genuine and speaking your truth. You have this fake identity about yourself. So it's so important to look inside yourself and ask yourself, who am I anyway? Like, it's so important to go inward and do this work and see yourself as somebody, as honestly, like, again, there's two parts about this. You're everything and you're nothing at the same time, right? Like, who are you anyway? You're just a human being on this planet. You are the human and you are the spirit. You are the soul. So you can say, like, you're just a spirit on this earth having a human experience, or you're a human that has a strong spirit within. But you are your spirit more than anything. There is something about you that makes you so individualistic, so special, that, and this is part of everybody that has their own unique gifts, like incredible gifts that they're not allowing to shine. They're not allowing that light to shine from within because they feel that they have to act or do or be this other fake person. And it's a horrible way to go through life. You feel like your partner needs you to be a certain person, and you live this fake life constantly rather than shining your light and shining your spirit, living life through your soul purpose. And none of this is easy. This is like trial and error constantly through your life. And I think that's where age brings wisdom, because we know that anybody on their deathbed, if they have the privilege to live a long life, if they have the privilege to age and become old. Note that I say privilege because it's so true. I mean, every breath that you take is a privilege right now. And I think we forget that so often. You are your breath. Do you realize that? You are your breath, because without your breath, you are nothing. You are dead. Your spirit leaves your body without the breath. Your breath is the essence of who you are. You have to realize how impermeable you are. So this is where you park your ego and you just, who am I? Who am I? I'm just my breath, because without it, I'm nothing. So that's where we, the terms of happiness from within Don't sweat the small stuff. I think these are like these nuggets of wisdom probably all came from the deathbeds of individuals. Don't sweat the small stuff. It doesn't matter the fact that you didn't get everything done today that you really wanted to. The fact is that you're breathing, and the people around you that you love are also breathing. That you gained some sort of human connection today. Your smile affected somebody else today. Your compassion, the words that you chose today, affected somebody else's life today. Like, who the hell cares about the report you didn't get out, or the bathroom that didn't get cleaned? Like, your light lit somebody else up today. It's seeing the value within yourself as a human being, the value. And we all have so much value to give to another person. That's what we don't realize. To give to a person, to give to an animal, to give to nature, whether that's picking up garbage, whether that's planting a new seed, whether that's, regenerative, like agriculture, smiling at the cashier today, giving someone a second chance. I mean, I kind of hesitated there, like, because again, like, this could be a people pleaser thing, but I mean, with the right discretion, with following your gut intuition, which is really the spirit, going back to your spirit, going back to your soul, being clear on what your intuition actually is and following it. And that is like, all of this stuff is what I talk about in the signature offer. And the whole idea of deciding and trusting your intuition is the other offer that I have out right now too, called I Decide, feeling the freedom after your decision. It's all about playing with those two realms, those two entities of fear, your emotion, and your intuition. How do we know which is which at times? Is this unconscious programming that's causing me to fear this? Or is this actually my intuition helping me out here and telling me not to do this? Because with both of those, we feel fear, but which one do we choose? We go into that. We have 6 modules of that to help you make your choice. So in what I offer to my clients now in these group programs, it's all because I've done it. It's all because I've lived through it. It's all because I've learned through it. And I want to teach others about it because it's so incredibly powerful now in terms of keeping my own nervous system calm and regulated, and learning how to use the breath to do that, learning how to use the breath to become a clear channel. And like, not only a clear channel to get my own downloads and my own intuitive hits and guidance. Like, I think I said this in the last episode, like, who am I? I mean, I'm getting this from somewhere. I'm getting it through source to help myself and to listen to that voice, but also to help others. Like, I realize sometimes I say things during, certain sessions and talking to people, I'm like, where did that come from? But it was super helpful in the moment. Like it was like exactly what I needed to tell that person. It's a feeling. It's just I'm not guessing it. I'm just saying it. It's this all knowing. Clairvoyance, you know, that's what it is. So I'm called to say that for a reason. It's because I'm listening and I'm aware. I'm aware of my thoughts throughout the day, checking in with my energy. Is this like I have low energy now? Why? And I don't mean I can't run around the block. I mean low frequency energy right now, frequency of guilt, shame, anger, judgment, sadness. Why is that? Where is that coming from? What stories am I telling in myself in my head right now? I need to stop the cycle. I need to because you're creating all these scenarios in your head. That's fear, and again, that's the ego. That's the ego telling, again, there's two sides of the ego. I mean, it can actually help you. It's reminding you, no. Like, this is not where you go. Like, I'm here to protect you. But it's also fighting with your spirit, the light within you at times, because your spirit is light, and sometimes the ego doesn't want that light to come in. It's the ego can be very, very dark, and it wants to cover up the light, because you're going to be identified. Then you're going to see the truth of yourself, and ego doesn't want that. It's almost like, it's looking in the mirror, looking in the water, the goddess Narcissus, like, don't want to hear that, don't want to see that. Nope. I want to stay in my own lies, my own stories that I'm telling you. That feels so much safer, So it's complicated, but it's not. And to simplify things, it's just to go more and deeper within, because truth is very simple. I always say it's fact. It's fact. It's the truth. It's the truth of who you are. It's not somebody else's truth. It's your truth. And being willing and open to look at it and accept yourself. Like, I am this type of person. I am this type of person. And it's okay to be that type of person. Whatever that is. You are not wanting to show up as that person because you feel like you're going to be judged as being a certain person. That's not good. I mean, says who? Like, you always have to ask yourself, well, I can't do it. Well, says who you can't do it? Well, I can't, say, it says who? Well, that's not how relationships work. Says who? If two people want to have a specific type of relationship, whether it's monogamy, whether it's not, whether it's, I think it's really, when it comes to relationships, it's just sort of like, can you give each other the company that you crave in a certain way that you both are okay at, occur with, like, I mean, exist in, like, who am I to say that, like, if one of the partners, let's just be stereotypic and just say, let's say the man is truly passionate about his work, truly passionate about his work. Let's say he's an artist. Let's say you're married to Vincent van Gogh, or one of these, song artists. Like, I mean, I don't know. You're married to Bono, like from U2 or whatever. Are you going to say, you know what? I need you home by 3. I need you home by 3 p.m. every day because, I need you to work from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day because this is sort of the witching hour with our 2-year-old, and until they're like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's possible that you are not doing a 50-50 relationship in terms of care for the children, or in terms of, I don't know, like, I mean, whatever the status quo 50-50 relationship is out there, like, what's stereotypical, like, I mean, if your wife in this instance is someone who is okay with not having her partner, maybe she thrives on independence, maybe she wants to be, the super mom or whatever, and he's able to create some sort of balance with that, and she is able to, like, your view of balance, right? I mean, you can't be absent father, and you can't be a helicopter mother, or the sole nurturer. I mean, there obviously has to be a balance, but who says it has to be 50-50? Personally, my father was someone who I could probably say was a workaholic, and his passion was to build, this amazing, I don't even like saying farm. It's like it's an agricultural business that still leaves a legacy in our family's lives. But it did come with some, I mean, my point is that the love that I have for my father is beyond. Was he always there for his children when they needed him? Probably not. Was my mom there all the time? Probably not. Because of her role as just a mother doing all the things. You could argue that not every child was given, like, the amount of love and attention that you might say a child requires. But what I'm saying here, just because the number of children there was, it was impossible. But what I'm saying here is that in the end, I know for a fact the incredible love that both of my parents had for me. There is not an ounce of doubt in my mind how much my parents love me. But the idea that, if in order to be a good mom, you have to spend this percentage of time with your child, or you need to breastfeed this child, or you need to read to your children every single day, or you got to realize these are all stories that have been created in your mind. And, I think every single one of us in our age and in our wisdom, and I can tell you right now, on your deathbed, at least I hope this for you, that you can look back at your parents and say, I mean, that that they did love you with all their hearts. Were they the type of parents to be able to communicate that to you? Did they have enough emotional intelligence as a human being? Did they do enough of that inner core work to be able to communicate that to you? Is a whole different story. But I would really have to argue that anybody who gave birth to a human being, anybody who's given birth to life, which is a miracle in itself, did not love the life it gave, even on an animal level, right? Like, I mean, even if I don't even know, I'm sure there's some species out there. I mean, I have no idea what the species is or whatever, that after giving birth, maybe they like leave immediately. I have no idea. If someone listening to this episode and cares to let me know, I'd be curious. But I'm almost convinced there's probably some species out there that after giving birth is gone, like within seconds. But maybe not. I don't know. So my point there is that we are all programmed to have created stories in our head that stops us from that stops our true spirit and light from shining within us. And it's super sad to think of it this way, but I think it's honestly the truth that most of us are walking around feeling that, we're not good enough. We can't be our authentic selves. We're going to be scrutinized, like nailed to the cross, like tarred and feathered if we actually say our truth. And when you think about it, I mean, I guess that's why Jesus got the role he did on this earth and in his time as a human, that he did speak his truth and he didn't hold back, and he was nailed to the cross because he realized that that was his soul's purpose. He was called to do that. And we can thank him for doing that. So I'll let you go, and I will see you next time. Okay. Thanks for listening. As always, I appreciate you so much. Bye-bye. Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.